Jane Slater is no longer in the Cowboys driveway. She joins us now from home here on Up to the Minute. It was quiet this weekend, Jane. I kept checking my phone thinking maybe you sneak it in during basketball games, but nope, he's still there.
And I'd like to thank him for that because I was able to enjoy South by Southwest in Austin.
There you
But
go.
I was at concerts checking my phone to make sure that nothing was breaking. Still no news, and this is sort of the expectation at this point. As we've talked about, it looks like Jerry Jones is going to wait till those owners' meetings, see if there's something that he can get out of this situation. Right now, it doesn't seem like anyone's in a hurry. As we've talked about, the Broncos consider him sort of a luxury item. Houston would like to have him, but they can also address their needs through the draft. And the Cowboys are in no rush really to let him necessarily off the roster because they're not going to get that relief through the cap until June 1st. Anyway, here's what I will tell you. They're done shopping. It's my understanding that they aren't going to make any more free agency moves. They were able to lock up Kellen Moore as a backup quarterback, bringing him back to Dallas. If you'll remember, he was slated to be number 2 on the roster last year until he had that fractured fibula the first week of training camp. He's a guy that Stephen Jones told us the Combine was going to be a priority in free agency. He was a player they wanted to bring back. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they're done. They could still go out there and add Josh McCown to the roster in that backup role. But as it sits, it looks like Kellen Moore is on the roster, Dak Prescott and Tony Romo still sitting there at the quarterback position.
Kellen Moore, the crafty lefty. You said they're done shopping, Jane. Well, let me put this on the screen then. If they're done shopping, evidently they're going to have to find an entire secondary in the draft. Carr, Claiborne, Church, Wilcox, all obviously with varying degrees of participation on that Cowboys defense last year, all have left the building. So, Jane, how do they replace those guys?
Well, they're going to have to do that through the draft. You know, right now at safety, you've got Byron Jones and you've got, let's see, Jeff, he's still there at corner. You've got Orlando Scandrick. You've got Nolan Carroll, who they were able to pick up in free agency through the Eagles, and Anthony Brown. Now, Anthony Brown was impressive for them at corner last year, filled in a lot for Morris Claiborne when he was hurt, and, of course, Orlando Scandrick. He's a young guy that they're developing, so he makes some sense there. But the needs all along have really been upgrading this secondary. It's going to be sad to see guys like Brandon Carr go, who's really been a great leader in that locker room. We talked about how significant the losses of Barry Church, the fact that he's sort of he was the team captain, was a great leader on that defense as well. I think the bigger concern, not only from a talent perspective, can you address that through the draft, but you're losing a lot of locker room leadership by not having the money and not being able to necessarily go out there and court some of these guys that were able to get paid through free agency.
Thank you, Jane. That's Jane Slater live in Dallas on Tony Romo Watch.